for your lathe test, when you're gonna take a retest, it's gonna be damn near the same damn thing. You're gonna have a print. You gotta make your program, you gotta touch off your tools, right? So, I don't care whichever way you do it. If you're studying the program and you say, man, I wanna knock out the program first, knock out the program. But don't get too caught up that you forget to touch off your tools, because what happens if you don't touch off your tools? You fail. Because let's say I did a part before this and my part stuck out this long. Next thing you know, you do your program, but you fail to touch off your tools, and the next part that I'm doing is even longer. What's gonna happen?
You're gonna break a tool.
You're gonna crash, right? So your program could be flawless, perfect, but you still fail, all right? So obviously, if I touch off, I'm just gonna come over on my Z face, come over to the part. Now, the first thing you probably want to do is make sure your work is on 0. G54Z. Remember, guys, how I explained to you that if I have a part here and I zero everything there, right? Then I get a longer part. All I have to do is call my lead tool and change my Z under my G54, and everything else follows, correct? So, I want that at 0 to begin with, right?
Okay.
So if the last person had a number in there, make sure you go in there and you put it at 0. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you want 0. Now, you're gonna come over here and your tool number 1. You're gonna come over on your Z, get your piece of paper, what have you, come up to the front. If that's my 0, that's my 0, right? Same thing with the X. Come out, go up, come back over, bring it down. Once it gets tight enough that you can't move the paper anymore. All right. Now, like I said before, this computer is a smart computer. If I push X diameter measure, it's gonna jump to it right away. But when you get a job at a real shop, you don't know what type of machine you're running. You don't know how old the machine is, right? You don't know what brand it's gonna be. So get used to coming over to the X, right? Because on the older ones, you push X diameter measure, if you're not highlighted on it, nothing happens, right? So you wanna be on X. Push X diameter measure, then we're gonna enter the diameter of the part, correct? So if it's 3 inches, we're just gonna enter there 3 inches. If it's 3, we measure with the calipers, 3 inches or 5 thousandths, 3 inches or 5 thousandths. Hit enter. Boom. Change that number, right? Now after that, just raise up your Z, go a little bit faster, close the door, be at 5% if you're taking your test, and just push the home button. That's gonna send it home. I'll probably tell you, bump it up to 25 because I know it's going home, right? So you just bump it up to 25. Bam. If you want to, while you're still here, go back up because you know you're gonna run it 2 inches above in front anyways, right? Come over here and go ahead and put your 2.0, enter. Is that what you really want to do? Do you accept it? Yes. There goes my 2 inches, right? Now the Z that I set in front here, it's now 2 inches in front of the part, right? So why do we do that? Because you guys are still training and we can't just pull out the programming graphics and start going to town on the part, right? We got to make sure that we're not going to crash or that the part's going to match the print, right? The program's going to match the print. So we have that on there, right? Come up here, V. 513. So go to this program. So push page down, all the way down to the 500s. Page down.
The blue button.
The one
Under
that
the
says
cursor.
page down? Yeah. See the numbers over here now? Go all the way down to the 500s. All right. So let's say we wanted to make 515, right?
It's not in there.
just like I told you guys before, man, read your freaking screen, right? If I wanted to make a new program, what does my screen say? New.
Click
Insert. So hit the insert key. I want to make 515, so 515. Enter. What happens? It pops up, correct? It creates that program. Now we're not selected yet, correct?
No.
So now we're gonna use the down arrows to get on it. And this is the way I talk because I put, like, I had to ask you guys questions. What are you trying to do? Oh, I'm trying to select that program. What are you trying to do? I'm trying to select the program. What are we trying to do? Oh, select program. Correct? That's it. So push select program. There we go. Now it's on there. Now after that, we gotta edit the program to make the program, right? So what key are we gonna press?
Edit.
Wow.
That's like the only thing I knew.
Right? So now from here, all right, we go ahead and step away. From here, we're gonna start writing our program. Correct? A lot of you guys made mistakes, man. I mean, a lot of you guys made mistakes. Some of you guys made simple mistakes. Some of you guys made huge mistakes, right? So we need to, this program, what you wrote down on your notebooks, that's what you could study at home. I know you can't study this at home because who has one of these in their house? None of you guys, right? So of course you can't study that at home. But writing down the code and understanding the code, you guys could do that at home, correct? Yeah, the book has it on there, but good luck deciphering what the hell the book's talking about when you read it, right? But the way I explained it to you guys and the way you guys wrote down your own notes, y'all should be able to understand it after that, right? We went over cat cycle facing how long ago?
A few days ago.
First time we went over it, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Can cycle?
Yeah, the facing.
Oh, yeah, about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we still made mistakes on it, guys. Whatever I teach you guys, it's not like, okay, that's what we learned, let's move on to the next thing. I didn't learn it 100%, but it's okay, I'm still gonna move forward. No, we have to understand it, because that's our bread and butter whenever we start working at a shop, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a little bit of in the blocks because I like my space in there, right? So this one doesn't have an EOB, but it has that, what the hell you call it?
Semicolon.
Yeah, that one. That's why I don't teach English. All right, so what's the first code I'm gonna put on the top? G28, right? I want to send everything home. Be safe, correct? After that, very important, I need a what? Tool number, right? If I forget the tool number, what code is it gonna give me? X over travel or Z over travel, right? And you're gonna look at your numbers after that, correct? Why is my X going over travel? Why is my Z going over travel? It's because you didn't give it a tool to identify the geometry numbers on them. Does that make sense? Because you didn't give it these numbers at all. So it's thinking the machine coordinates and it's thinking, hey, that's way too damn far. Because you didn't give me a tool number. That's why it says X over travel or Z over travel. Does that make sense? All right, we're going back to edit now. So now I need my tool number, T101, and the block enter, right? Right under my tool number, I need to give it a what? A maximum for my RPMs, correct? So G50, S, let's just say 1000, right? And the block, correct? After that, I'm gonna turn on my spindle with the G97 first, correct? So a G97, S, 500 is fine or 400 is fine, but we want to include our spindle direction in this one, so our spindle turns on, correct? M03, and the block, enter. Oh, I put a G91, it's supposed to be a G97. All right, we're tracking so far?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's next after that?
Starting position?
Starting position, right? So I need to put a G00, G54, X, if I'm looking at my print, 3.1, Z, depending on how much stock I have in front, that's what I'm gonna put for that, right? But we're just gonna pretend it's just 100 thousandths right now, correct? So, G00, G54, X 3.1, Z 0.1, and the block enter, correct? So after that, we need to give it a G96, right? Because it's gonna go faster and go slower as it goes to the center of the spindle, correct? So we're gonna put a G96, S 400 is fine, also 450. All right, we got that so far? How many of you guys messed up on your program before that? Before those numbers?
I messed
Okay.
up. I was showing up.
I mean, and for me, it's not that, oh, you're a teacher, so you're supposed to know this. No. You know how many teachers still don't know this? Even though, and they teach it? I don't have any notes right now, guys. I'm doing this off the top of my head, right? So this is how you get to be a lead man and a supervisor at a shop. This is how you do that. But, like I said, guys, it's just studying, and studying. Understanding what you need before it goes on there, right? We need to send it home. We need to give it a tool number. We need to give it a maximum RPM. We want to turn on the spindle if the part falls out, right? We need to give it a starting position, and then we give it a G96. That's my intro, guys, right? I've been preaching that since the beginning. That's your intro.
Intro.
All right.
Make sure you got the right tool too.
So what's next?
Your body.
G what? Which one puts it on the x-axis?
0-1.
What?
G72. Yes.
G72,
It's your
correct?
can cycle.
G72, all right? So I need a G72. And then I'm gonna need a P after that, right? Because that P is gonna start with the first number line.
P10.
P10 is fine, right? So P10. Then I need a Q,
Q20.
Q20, right? Then I need a U. U is a stock material for my finish pass, but we're just gonna leave it as a 0 right now, correct? So U 0.0, W 0.0, right? As I'm putting this on, I also gotta tell it what depth of cut I'm gonna take, correct? So I need a D value. So I could just put D.1 or D05 if I'm gonna take off 50, then another 50, correct? And I can't stop there, I still need to include what? What's the last thing? Feed rate, correct? I need to tell it how fast to go. F.012 and the block. Boom. How many of you guys messed up on that line?
No. That
Well,
one
good
I
of
got.
you guys, right? So, right under my G72, obviously I have P10. So the first thing I need is an N10,
N10.
right? N10. So we're just identifying what we're gonna cut and where we have to be at, right? Just the geometry. So I'm gonna put a G00, so it rapids up or it rapids on my Z to that location, right? G00, and I'm just gonna put Z0, because what am I doing? I'm facing and I wanna end up on Z0 when I'm done, right? I'm starting at Z.1 and I'm gonna end up at Z0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I identified over here on my Z, but now I have to put the cut going down, correct?
So now we need an X.
So that's gonna be a G01 now, right?
Linear
So
cut.
we gotta change it to a G01, X what?
3.
062.
Negative 0.062, correct?
His negatives are going down, so we gotta subtract material.
To pass the face of the center line.
So you can cut off that nipple. And that's double the tool radius, the nose
Tool
compensation.
radius. So what's next after this?
You have to wrap it off.
I have to come off the face, correct? So, but I'm gonna change it to a G00, right? G00, Z.1 in the block. Oh, wait, I need my N. So N20. There we go. So after this, it's it's my choice however I want to come off of it, right? I could G00, G53, X0, G00, G53, Z0, or I could just G28 it, correct?
G28.
Because 9 times out of 10, if I'm facing, I don't have a tailstock on there, because how the hell are you going to face with the tailstock on there, right? You won't be able to. So G28, end the block, enter. Now I'm going to put an M01 at the end of that program, correct? M01. Now, like I said earlier, guys, now that we know a little bit more about this machine, if I have optional stop on, it'll stop at that M01, right? If I don't want it to stop there, I just take it off and the program will continue running all the way through. Does that make sense? That's what M01 does with the optional stop. If I put an M00 there, as soon as it reaches the M00, it's gonna stop. And it's not gonna go again until I push the green button. Does that make sense? If there's an M30 there, well, I'm just looping that same program over and over again. I'm never getting to what's under there. Does that make sense?
So, but right now with doing things, there's nothing here. But you're saying if there's more program under that,
Yeah.
it'll stop and go? Okay.
Yeah, the optional stop.
Okay.
We'll do that. So now I'm gonna go ahead. So that's my facing, right?
That's facing.
Now I have to do my turning OD, correct? So, of course, you want to start it with the G28 again, just because you want to have that, make sure it's safe, right? We still want to have our tool number, T101, and the block, enter. So really, I could have copied and pasted pretty much this whole thing up here, right? Let me go ahead and do that so that it's easier for you, but you understand why or what you're gonna move. If I hit F2, come down, highlight it, hit enter, where I wanna copy to, right there. Hit undo, well, that just takes it off of it, right? So now, whenever you copy and paste, make sure you go through that new program and you understand what you're doing for your next operation, so you know what to erase. Does that make sense? Because if you don't take some of this stuff off, especially on the mill, you're gonna have problems because your H's and your D's aren't gonna match your tool numbers. Does that make sense? So we know we have a G28, we gotta send it home. We're still gonna use tool number 1, so we're gonna leave that alone, right? Our maximum RPM, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, right? Because we're still identifying the stock, so that's fine. We still got a G96 on there. Now, a G72. If I leave that G72 on there, it's gonna throw me an alarm. Does that make sense? So now I have to switch that to a what?
71.
G71. So, if I leave that P as it is, what's gonna happen? Get an alarm, right? Because it's matching my face piece.
So it's gonna
correct? So it's gonna give me an alarm, right? So I gotta change that. Put it P100 if you want, right? Q200. But make sure you come over here and change the ends also.
And 100.
Is that good? All right. So now we have our program coming in here, right? So we are still, we could wrap it a G00, but we're gonna have an X here, right? Because we're still 100 thousandths in front of the part. So our X values, what did we say earlier in class, right? That we're gonna take our 1.5, 100 thousandths from the top, 100 from the bottom, and then go 100 thousandths lower from it, correct? To start our actual chamfer move. So that one, that X is gonna be 1.5 minus 2, so that equals 1.3 minus another 1, 1.2, correct?
Wait. Huh? I thought you were doing 1.5 minus 0.1.1. That would be.
And then we're taking it down another 100, because if I start my chamfer right there, it's gonna fold over, remember? So we're just gonna start 100 thousandths under that,
Okay.
under the chamfer.
Gotcha.
That's all we're doing. So that's 1.2.
Okay.
Are we tracking so far?
Yep.
Alright, I could go ahead and delete this because I know I'm not going to use it. I'm not facing anymore, right? So, now that I'm on that point, what do I have to do if I'm going to activate cutter comp? Gotta put in my G02, right? So, we're going to put in a G42.
You said 0. You meant 42.
G42.
G42.
That was my accent. Put a G42 on there, right? Put a G01 because I'm coming to the face of the part.
Straight line.
And Z0, correct? So G01, Z 0.0 in the block. Does that make sense? Now the program, the one in the book probably has your G42 up here. It's gonna do the same thing. As long as you activate it before you're on the part. Does that make sense? Remember the rule when we were reading cutter comp? It needs to be activated off the part going onto the part.
Okay, so you're basically starting here, about to go.
Starting here, and I'm about to go in on Z0 right now. So I can start doing that radius.
But then you're at X 1.2.
Yeah, so that's 1.5, 100 from the top, 100 from the bottom. That's 1.3 minus another 100. So I'm right there right now.
So you're basically right here.
Yeah.
You're going in, then up, then over.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, so now my next movement is gonna be, I'm still in a G01, correct?
Yes.
So my next movement, my next point is gonna be right here. So 1.5 minus 0.1 minus 0.1, X 1.3, correct?
And this is where we get confused. Okay, got it.
So now I'm making this point at the end of the chamfer, correct? So that X is going to 1.5, it's telling me right there, right? It's ending up there, so that X is what, 1.5? My Z is negative 100 thousandths, because it's telling me right there.
Just subtract.
Correct?
Yep.
So X 1.5, Z minus 0.1. And the block, enter. Too easy, right? It's too easy now, but what happened about a few hours ago for all of y'all?
Brain fart.
Well, I told you guys. Oh, you got class ended already.
No, screw it. We like this. We need this.
Nah, let's just go. Let's just call it. You're ready for your test next week, guys.
Get back over here.
All right, so now we're still under a G01, correct?
Yeah.
So we
that's
need
the
to
last.
come to this point at this radius, right? So if that's 1 inch, and if that radius is 100 thousandths, Z minus 0.9, correct?
So it's 1.1 inch minus 0.1, which equals 0.9.
Yeah, but it's on the Z negative direction.
Right. What we did there is took this minus this.
All right,
which
now
puts there.
we need to change it from a G01 to a what?
G02.
G02, because we're going from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, right?
Yes.
So a G02, my X value is going to be 100 thousandths plus 100 thousandths. 1.5 plus 1.1 plus 0.1, so X equals 1.7.
Yeah. So this plus this again for the bottom, 1.7.
And then my Z, well, it's telling me right there I'm going to end at 1 inch, correct?
So 1 inch.
So Z minus 1 inch.
From the face.
Now I can't forget my R, guys. My R is my radius, correct?
Radius
so
is
R
0.1.
0.1. And the block, enter.
So G02 just finished up right there after. Okay.
Now all I'm gonna do,
G01 up.
yeah, is G01 to 3 inches, correct? So G01, X 3 inches. And the block, enter. That's good.
So you're just going to that top part, right?
Yeah, just right
Now
there.
we're about to go over.
Could you go up like 100 thou above that?
I mean, you can, but I'm gonna turn off my cutter coming off of it. That's why I just stopped there. All right, because those are the numbers there. Now, I got choices I can make, guys. I could go Z minus another 1 inch and then come off of it, and that's fine too, right? but we just want to describe this part. Really, the exercise of this is you guys learning the can cycles, knowing how to do chamfers, and knowing how to do radiuses, right? That's the whole purpose of this exercise. Right? So now, I have to end this with what? What's the next line?
Gotta go off.
But what else, though, guys? I'm coming off the part now. So what do I need? What do I need, V?
This is 0.
Coming off the part now. I already identified my geometry. What do I need?
To go home. Rapid.
Go home, V. Let's go home. I need another
That's
end
wrong.
line, right?
Oh,
I have my
N200.
P and I'm...
N200.
Oh,
N200.
oh.
Yeah, N200.
See that?
N200.
Oh, I tell you. N200, right? Because I finished my geometry of my part. Now I'm going off of it, correct?
Yeah.
So I could N200, G00, G... What's the G40?
Cancel.
Cancel cutter comp, right? And my X, I'm just gonna go up. 3.1 is fine, right?
But also, I saw in a video this X 3.1 is supposed to match this up here, the same 3.1.
It can or it could be bigger. But that's
Okay,
X
but it
3.1.
means to be at least
At
that.
least that, or
Okay.
higher.
Okay.
And the block, enter, right? Then after that, I just need a G28, and the block, enter,
Now you can go home.
M30, and the block, enter.
That ends the cycle.
So how many lines of code is that?
About 28 total. Between all of them.
20. Compared to if I had y'all do this line by line, how much more code would it be? Right? And then if we didn't use cutter comp, even more complicated, correct? So let's see how this fares on the graphics. How many alarms did I get, guys?
None. It's because I gave you all the answers.
I ran it in graphics, right? I'm already 2 inches in front. Now we'll close the door and actually run it 2 inches in front of the part. Then my test will be over.
Let's do it.
That's
You're
it
still,
though.
You're still timed on the machine.
Yeah, from the beginning until you run it 2 inches in front of the part. Right? Because graphics is just going to tell you have an alarm. Right? But the actual cut of the radiuses and the chamfers and everything like that, graphics doesn't tell you whether you're right or wrong. You can finish that part, take it to inspection, and they're like, hey man, your radius is too big, or your radius is too small. Is it going to tell you on the graphics? No. You got to measure that out, and you got to look at your code, and that's what actually makes your part. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do it that way.
So,
Before, we used to have them run it 2 inches in front of the part, and as soon as we're like, well, I want to take a part home. Okay, now that's included in your test too. Do the touch off, do the program, run it in graphics, run it 2 inches in front, then run it on the part, and you can take that part home. All in 20 minutes. Go ahead.
let's run it.
Hmm?
Let's run it.
I know it's gonna run.
Oh, let's see it. Who wants to see it?
Who wants to see it or who wants to go in the mill and learn the mill too?
Raise your
Because
hand.
after that, it's gonna be 12:30, and you guys gotta go to Gabriel's class.
Now we'll be late to his, but okay.
I mean, it's gonna run, right?
Mine's gonna take
So
3
you're gonna
minutes.
run under memory. Make sure you're in a position when you're running. You guys are gonna be on a single block, right? So I'm 2 inches in front of the part. There it is running. My depth of cut is 50 thousandths. I was at 0.1, so that's 50. It's gonna come back forward, go up. Now I'm at Z0. Most likely it's gonna take another pass on the Z0, right? So there goes that. Like I said, just one more. And after this, you should go home. All right, on to the next one. So, see how we have our optional stop on. That's why it stopped after that. is I have an M01 and optional stop on. If I didn't have optional stop on, it would have ran through it. Alright? So now push the button again. Here we go. Still 2 inches in front of the part. I should have increased my depth of cut because I just left it at 0.05. For your test, if you want to put at D1, 100 thousandths, go ahead. That way, it's going to be a hell of a lot faster. Because you're going to have a lot less passes. Does that make sense?
So the depth of cut is actually cutting this part out right now. It's going to take a while to get to there. Run 100%.
It's at 50. So that's 2.6. And it's going to go down to 1.5.
So we got to get to
So,
here.
but if you look, I put D50 on there, right? But it's actually taking out 50 from the top and 50 from the bottom. So it's going down 100 thousandths per pass in real life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's spinning the other
See
side.
right here, it says X2.4. Watch, it's gonna say X2.3.
So if you were to put
Yeah.
D2, 100 thousandths, it takes
200 thousandths per pass. Yeah. So you gotta be careful with that, especially like with ink canal and cheap inserts, because it'll tear them up, right? Especially like when you're working with the ID. That's another thing too. So right now it's at 100.
And it's simulating
inches,
cutting
sorry.
from this 3 down to this 150. So it's simulating cutting this area right there.
0.9.
Go 1.8, 1.7, 1.6, and then 1.5 and done with that part.
Get 1,000.
It's already 12:20. You're gonna be late for class.
Alright, that's fine. We'll go over there at 1. We're no hurry to go there. Alright, so we're down to
It's your favorite
5%.
class, man. What are you talking about? Alright, so now it's gonna do the little chamfer. That's why you see these numbers coming up and your Z decreasing, right? Then it's probably gonna go to the start position and do the whole angle again. So I came up to the start. And
That's a part.
oh no, it's going back home. Good.
So numbers change like that.
Too easy?
Too hard.
That's it, guys.
Now let's run it for real. Cut the part.
What the hell is the point? Let's go over there so you guys can learn that, because